titled, Yes, It's Time for Twitter, Really, and our presenter is Michelle Walford with the University of Delaware Extension. I'm Taylor Robinson, and I'll be helping to facilitate this session. We'll be using the chat pod that's located at the bottom right-hand corner throughout this presentation for questions. Please use the arrow key to select everyone or all participants. And at this time, Michelle has a question that asks how you're related to agriculture, if you could answer that at this time. We will also be answering questions at the end of this presentation. Before we begin, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors and collaborators that are listed here on the slide. The blue link listed, which is extension.umd.edu, which is where you can find a complete list of upcoming and previously recorded webinars, as well as additional resources. As a reminder, we will be recording this presentation and you will receive an email with the recording and PowerPoint slides. At this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Michelle, and you can take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Walford. I think I did the very first Women in Agriculture Wednesday webinar, so I've been doing them for about 4 or 5 years now, typically on matters of technology and social media. I'm a communications specialist, as Taylor said, and I also received certification from the University of Delaware in social media strategy. So I'm on practically everything, and I do want to share and let's see, share my screen. Yes, I've got 2 screens. And I do want to mention that I'm going to refer a little bit to Taylor mentioned that the webinars that are archived are on the Women in Agriculture Mid-Atlantic website with the University of Maryland. And I talked back in, it was this time last year, it was May of 2019. I talked about thought leadership and social media branding. So that I tie into that a lot. So you want to look back at some of these because I've done some on Twitter before and other social media platforms. But this one I'll refer to this a little bit. So I just wanted to point that out to you. So we're going to talk today about why Twitter. And as I've said, this is a platform that I think confuses a lot of people, but for agriculture, it's really, really important, and I'll explain why. It's heavily used by the agricultural industry. It's also where statistically mothers and food bloggers are, so where there's conversations about food production, food safety, GMO versus organic, all of those hotbed conversations typically happen on Twitter. It's also where your reporters mostly are. So if you're looking to get some attention about your business, or sometimes reporters will seek out, if they're doing a story on agriculture, they'll look to their Twitter feed to see who's talking about that topic, and so maybe they would want to come out and visit you. Definitely funders, so people who are in extension looking for grants. The funders, they love to see images on Twitter. Elected officials, they're also typically on Instagram and Facebook as well, but they're definitely on Twitter. And it is the best platform, in my opinion, to establish your brand and your expertise on a topic or a spectrum of topics. And that goes to that thought leadership webinar that I discussed back in May. If you are, and one of the reasons I asked what's your connection to agriculture, say you are growing wine and you have a vineyard, you want to be able to present yourself, not just to sell your wine and talk about what you're doing, but also present yourself as an expert on wine or a particular kind of grape or a particular kind of wine. And so you balance your content accordingly. So as we go through this, whatever your connection is, if it's cows, if it's dairy, if it's cattle, if it's beef, maybe you're an organic grower, maybe you're a conventional grower, you want to be seen by the Twitter community as an expert in that field. And that takes a little bit of time to do, but I'll show you how that works. Also on Twitter are organized conversations, and they're typically known as chats or town halls. I used to be a moderator for a national platform called AgChat. It was every Monday night, or every Tuesday night, excuse me. They've slowed that down, and I'm not doing that anymore, but for 1 hour, People would talk about what's going on their farm. You meet other people. I've actually met real people. I've met them personally. You can build very strong relationships. Having said that, the really part of the Twitter title goes into it. It can be a very nasty place also. It is unfiltered. You can get a lot of trolls, and it's very fast and very busy, and it's very crowded. But hopefully today I can show you how you can work through that and focus on conversations and hopefully advocate. That's the bottom line for me here, is to try to help enable you to share what you're doing, and so that people will see that and go, oh, I didn't know that about soybeans, or I didn't know that about poultry growers. That's very interesting, because we need more voices, because there is quite a lot of negative voices about agriculture and food production on Twitter. So I'm hoping that people can cut through that and advocate. And it's also important to know that it is a hashtag. So unlike Facebook, which is not being used, and really people have Facebook pages. We'll talk a little bit about this, but people, if you have a Facebook page, I'd love to hear your experiences with it. But if you have, say, 1,000 fans on Facebook, and you tweet about, and you post that you're having an open house at your property, you'll be lucky if 30 people out of that 1,000 see it, because Facebook is not feeding your information to all the people that like your page. A lot of people don't know that. So you can go to, like if I had Walford's Orchards and I was going to have a fall festival, and I have 1,000 followers, and I type Walford, we're having the first 100 people who come will get free admission, blah, blah, blah. Probably only 30 people out of my 1,000 will see that. And the reason is Facebook uses algorithms to decide who is really engaged with your content. So if you've been visiting and seeing my content and not commenting on it, Facebook goes, oh, you're not really interested in Walford Orchards, and they stop showing you my content. And you can hop on my page and see it, but they are going to filter it in a person's feed. Instagram does the same thing. Instagram is owned by Facebook. And if you've ever noticed the same people liking your Instagram posts or the same people are liking your Facebook posts, it's because they're not seeing your original posts. And what they want you to do is they want you to buy an ad. Twitter does not have any of that. Twitter is not filtered. If you follow 1,000 people, you're going to see 1,000 people's feeds. They're going to see, if they're following you, they're going to see what you post. But as a result, it's very crowded. It's very rapid. So I also want to tell you that we're going to look, this slide presentation is very short. We're going to hop on live on Twitter, and I'll show you how I work it. But the mobile device is very easy to use. So like here is a snapshot of mine, and you can see here I have Michelle Walford. That's my personal account, but I also represent UD Extension Delaware 4-H, the Carville Research Farm where I work. I also occasionally post on our proper college. I'm a member of. So I work with all of these accounts, and I could easily toggle back and forth. Well, you can't do that so much on desktop. Desktop, you have to sign out and then sign back in to jump to your other account. However, desktop, if you're on Twitter on desktop, that is where you're going to get all your analytics, and I'll show you what that looks like. So how many people saw your post, how many people engaged with it. You'll have an idea, and that's very helpful, because if they're not seeing your content, maybe you need to post once or twice a week that identical content, because it happens very, very rapidly. Twitter are where the conversations are occurring about food and fiber, about GMOs, about labeling, about making baby food. You name it, they're on there. And it's really where, as I've mentioned before, agriculture has taken quite a hit, in my opinion. There's a lot of information. And I'm not here to, what's the word, how do I want to say this? It's okay if you're vegan. It's okay if you're organic. There are reasons for people. They could be religious. They could be health. As an extension professional, I'm not here to advocate one over the other. We teach people how to grow organic. We teach people how to grow conventional. There's enough under this umbrella called agriculture for everybody to eat the way they want to eat and to grow and produce the food the way they want to grow it. So I love it all. I eat it all. But when we're talking about GMO versus organic, that's an issue that's often talked about, and sometimes the science isn't there. Sometimes the feed that you'll see, the content you'll see, is not science-based and it's scare tactics. So when you see something like that on Twitter, should you engage with it? And maybe you should share your point of view. If you see they'll show animal cruelty, for instance, with a poultry farm. I think there was a couple about 6 months ago. There was a dairy farm in the Midwest, and it went viral on Facebook because some people filmed the cows being hit and punched and dragged. And the owner of that farm got right out on social media and said, "What I saw was terrible. Here's our philosophy." So it's really important when things like that do occur on social media that we have people who are living that life, who are doing that work, to share their experiences. So I encourage all of you to consider being on Twitter, even if it's just sharing a photograph and this is a day in my life, because people are going to be very, very interested in what you're doing. And it may seem like, oh, well, this is just a combine. Well, people, if you go up to do a little short video and talk about the combine and how it works and what you're currently harvesting and how late you have to be up, and those are the kinds of just day in the life stuff that you probably don't think anything of, but it adds a face, it adds a value to the farmer. So they see a hardworking family farm that cares about their animals, that is teaching their children responsibilities on the farm, and they have chores and they're taking care of animals. That's a very, very important message, and I can't tell you that there's not enough of it going around. So Twitter is hashtag driven. You at least need to use at least 2 to 3 hashtags, and it's a microblog. So you have a 140 character limit. It's very liberal with abbreviations, but you just kind of like, here's what happened today, or here's what's going on, or hey, I think this is interesting. And the content strategy that I would recommend to people is that you would do 50 to 60% of the content you post on Twitter should be original. So it might be what you're doing on your location, what special you have, what incentive you have. You could be a farm, maybe you have a venue as a wedding venue or something like that, or you're selling a particular product, or your corn has come in, or your watermelons are here. That would be 50 to 60%. The other balance of that would be content that you curate, content that other people have posted that you find interesting and you share to your viewers. I hope that makes sense, and we can talk about that. These are just some Twitter hashtags. There's so many, but some of the ones I think that are applicable to our audience here is Farm Her. These are women in ag. Since this is Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag, this is one that's used a lot. So when they show a Barbie doll that's a female farmer or a female entomologist, they put one out. I've seen that hashtag attached to that because it's celebrating women in the field, even if it's a toy or if it's the real deal. So this would be a hashtag that Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag would use. Ag Twitter is the overall most commonly used hashtag for just talking about agriculture on Twitter. So that's almost like a no-brainer. If you're talking about ag antibiotics, and some of our poultry growers might be interested in this because there's still a perception that we use antibiotics or steroids in our feed. This is a hashtag you might want to follow, and you're going to see people talking about it who believe that's going on and people who have concerns about it. And then you have farmers talking about what that really does mean in their operation. And then hashtag harvest. So this right now, everybody's doing harvest 19. Next year it'll be harvest 20, and the year after harvest 21. But rather than just harvest, they usually tack the year on the end. AgriTalk is just another catch-all. Any commodity, so hashtag weeds, that's not a commodity. Hashtag cattle, hashtag wine, hashtag corn, hashtag beets. That's how you're going to find a conversation about what you're interested in. Hashtag food, and that's a very wide open category. There also used to be something called food chat, but I don't think that's going around very much anymore. There also is parent chat and mom chat. Yes, there is even a dad chat. So these are people who track conversations based on that. So it's often mothers talking about not just food, but just about raising children. But food comes into that. You don't want to make your own. I think there was a recent report out that commercial baby food had levels of lead in it or something like that. It was a real scary story that might show up, and so that's a conversation you might want to join into. And Best Food Facts is another. But there's an infinite number of combinations. There's usually one for your state as well. We use NetDE for Delaware. That's considered the network of Delaware, NetDE. So you might have one Net Maryland. I'm not sure what Maryland or Jersey or Virginia uses, but you could follow some of your reporters and local people on that are on Twitter and see what they're using. But there's usually a catch-all for your area. Here's why you need to be on Twitter. These are just some of the organizations that all have Twitter accounts. Most of these are ones that we are involved with Extension, but they're heavily invested and they have thousands and thousands of tens of thousands of followers. So these are accounts that if you aren't on Twitter and you're thinking about signing up and creating an account, these would be some of the ones I would recommend that you follow. You can follow your own local extension office. Certainly you can follow UD Extension, and Maryland has one as well. We'll take a look at those. But these are the, and what's nice about these is if you look at who is following them and who they're following, you get more ideas on who you should follow. This is just an example here of one of our former he's now working in Illinois, but he was a plant pathologist, and he would go out in the field and he would see leaves with spots. He would see fungus diseases. He would take pictures of them and he would tweet them out. His golf cart got stuck in the mud. He would tweet that. He has, I think way up to 1,000 followers now. He's really taken off. People find this kind of content very interesting. So you want your content on Twitter to be visual. He jokes around. It's wet at Carvel so he'll say Pythium bars are good for what ails you. So he has a little bit of a sense of humor. People respond to that authenticity and will tend to trust you more if you post a picture and just kind of explain the day in your life. So this was an example of an extension agent who did that very well. So I'm done here. What I want to do now is get out of Twitter and actually hop on. Are there any questions? We could take a little break and see while I bring you up if there's any questions so far. And Taylor, I can't see the screen, so if you see anything, just feel free to interrupt me. So this is my Twitter feed. Now I'm looking at the desktop, and I'm going to go to my profile. It's very important, and I would recommend if you have a farm business, that you consider creating a personal account as well as one for your business. So I don't have an orchard, but if I say had Walford Orchards was a business, I would have one that would say Michelle Walford, and then I might say owner of Walford Orchards at Walford Orchards on there. So what you want to do is you want to have a photograph or your business logo that would be, I would recommend that it be identical to what you're using on Instagram and Facebook. In this case, it's my photograph, and I just have a picture of a garden right now. And then you have a section where you have a profile. It's approximately 3 lines. This is very, very important to get people to trust you, who you are. So I say very much up front, I'm an ag communicator with UDEL at Carvel, because they have an account, Carvel UD. And you can see it pops up when you hover over it, UD Extension. and Delaware 4-H. So I tell people I'm a 3-time blue hen because that's a hashtag UD uses. And here's what I tweet about. I mean, I'm letting people know right up front, here's what you can expect from me with this account. I'm not going to talk about the Kardashians. I am not going to talk about politics. You will never know whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican on Twitter. And one of the things I mention to people is, why would you want to, the way things are today, as polarized as they are, why would you want to alienate 50% of your customer base? Because someone will go, oh, she's a Democrat? Oh, well, then I'm not following her. I won't shop there. Or, oh, she's a Republican? Oh, I won't shop there. I mean, it's gotten, sadly, to that point. I don't just talk about ag, although that's my lead. I also talk about social media in general because that's a topic I'm interested in. I talk about gardening. I talk about photography and art. And this was my master's thesis on a history journalism project. So I do talk about political art in the 19th century. Believe it or not, people are interested in that. So if I only talked about ag, I probably would have double the followers I have because I'm sort of all over the place here. I'm talking about art. I'm talking about ag. I'm talking about social media. So if you focus on just your business, you can have a business account with focus obviously on your business, but as a person who owns that business, you can have a little more stretch, but I wouldn't stray too far from where you want your profile to be professional, is I guess what I'm saying. I could talk about The Walking Dead or a TV show or the Kardashians, but if I'm going to talk about pop culture and politics, are people going to trust when I say something else about agriculture? Or I don't want to look silly. So I may occasionally put up a picture of my grandson or a trip I have that I've gone to New York or something like that. I might do that, but I tend to stick to the topics that I've set in my profile. I also have a website, and you can put your website for your business in there as well. And then it tells you how long I've been on Twitter, the number of people I follow, and the number of people who are that I'm following, and the number of people who are following me. So looking at someone's followers, you can see that this is going to give you a good idea of like, okay, well, who should I follow? And you want to follow about 50 people to start. You don't want to follow 3,000 people all at once, because it's going to look like you just started. It's going to kind of give it away that you're a newbie, and that's fine too. Everybody has to start somewhere. But you can click on my followers, and you will see who I'm following, and it tells you whether they follow you back. And usually when you follow someone, so if you were to follow me and click on me right now and follow me, I would go, oh, who's that? And if you don't have a profile and you don't have a photograph, I'm not going to follow you back because I don't know who you are. So your profile is very important. But you might go, oh, okay, yeah, I see she's following. Let me just see here. There's a 4-H colleague of mine. There's Ag Biotech. Oh, yeah, I think I'd want to follow them. I'm interested in that. So if you're looking to try to figure out who you want to follow, look at somebody you respect or someone who's got a similar industry as yours, and follow along. So hopefully that makes sense. I also want to show you, and we'll show some examples. I want to show you, if I click under More, it's going to give you analytics. So if you click on analytics, and this would be similar to what a Facebook will give you if you have a Facebook page, and it will tell you whether you're doing better than you did 28 days ago. It'll tell you you're up. It'll tell you where you're down, and it goes up and down. It tells you what your most popular tweet was and how many people retweeted you. And I had 7 tweets, but that tweet reached 5,334 people. That's an impression, means that my tweets showed up in their feed in some way, shape, or form. Did they read it and click on it? I have no way of knowing, but it tells me that a couple people retweeted what I said, so then it becomes exponential. So this is where if you can get somebody who has 10,000 followers retweet something you posted, that's great, because then it's 10,000 new people that are becoming aware of you for the very first time. So hopefully that makes sense. But this is really nice. You cannot get the statistics via the mobile app. This has to be done when you come in and you sign in on a desktop like I am right now. So I'm going to go back to my profile. So let's just take a look at our own organization here, which is Women in Ag. So I'm going to come up to the top here, and you may not know their handle, and your handle is your @ sign right here. So I'm @MWalfred. So I'm going to just type in Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag. I'm going to search and see if anything comes up. Well, I'm not seeing. Okay, but now I'm seeing that this was the way back in 2015, Mid-Atlantic. But there's their handle right there. So even though it didn't pop up here, it popped up right here. So this was the conference that we have in Dover in February, and they have a hashtag called Women in Ag. It should have been not right, but anyway. So anyway, here is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture. So here is our site. And so this is telling you that they are engaged, educated, and empowered. This institution is an equal opportunity employer. We could probably add a little more to that description. It's just new on Twitter. It has 275 followers. But you could click on that. If you're looking for an idea of who should follow you or who you might want to follow, you can click and say, well, I want to see who Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag is following. So you click on there. So here's Maryland Seafood, Maryland Commerce, Maryland's Best. So these are all accounts that you should be jotting down, thinking whether you live in Maryland or whether you live in Delaware or Virginia, these are organizations that can help further promote your business just by retweeting something. So here's our agronomist is here. They're following. There's our new plant pathologist. Here's Jessica. She's our horsewoman at UMD. So I'm seeing some extension agents here. So this Lisa Blunt Rochester is Delaware's representative, and she's on the Ag Committee, so that's why she's being followed. She spoke at our group. So you can see other women. So these might be people that as you go through there, you might go, oh, I know her, oh, I know him, and you can click on them and follow them. So that gives you an idea of who you think maybe should be in your community. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Likewise, you can see who they are, who is following them, and then you'll see a whole. So hopefully all of you, if you're not following Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag, that you do that. Hop on your phones and follow them. So here we have, I know this young lady here, she's a student at the University of Delaware. So she's following Women in Ag. That's something that, so you know what, I think maybe we'll sign in as myself, but there's a person that you could follow. You also will see people with little suitcases. That means their account is locked. If you have an Instagram account that is private, this is the equivalent. In my opinion, there's no reason whatsoever to have a private account on Twitter. It's defeating the purpose. Open yourselves up. If she posted something and I retweeted it, nobody else could see it except the people that she's given permission to. I'm not an advocate of that, and I don't recommend that. If you want to get on here and you want to share what you're doing in your life and you want other people to see it, and that's the whole reason for going on Twitter, is because of the advocation of it. So did anybody answer, Taylor? Anybody sign in what they're interested in or what their connection is with agriculture? Because I was going to search that. If
Yeah,
anybody
we have sheep and cattle, cut flowers.
All right, let's just go with sheep. So we could do sheep. We could also do ruminants. So you just come out in here and you go sheep. And so this is now all the people who are talking about sheep. And it may be sheep on sheets, it might be real sheep, it might be being sheepish, but you can go through and actually look at somebody's account. Now, I'm in here as myself. If I were interested, and here's where the engagement comes in. You could check out who she is. She's on Instagram. She's got 303,000. So she's been on there a while. But I might comment. I'll like that post. She's going to be aware that I liked it. But I can also comment. And I might say something like, what a beautiful picture. Where was this taken? And I'm going to hit reply. She will get a little notification up at the top. You get a little bell that turns red. And so she will reach out to me. If I thought what she said was very interesting, I could reshare it. I don't really talk about sheep, so I won't do that. But I just wanted to show you that's an interaction. If you want to build your followers, that's exactly how you do it. That would be one way. So let me just scroll down my feed. I have no idea what you're going to see here. Sometimes you see crazy stuff. So here's a little guy aiming life to be this keen to go to work, farming and sheeping. And look at that. Yeah. So I could now share this on so I'm going to like it because I just think it's an adorable video. And notice too that the video is vertical. It doesn't fit nearly as nicely as it is when it's horizontal. So both work, but I will tell you as a videographer, you want to go horizontal every way you can. It does help. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to retweet it. And that would be this equivalent of, and this is something you can't do, by the way, on Instagram. Instagram is a very artsy, great place to show pictures of your products, pictures of your cut flowers, pictures of your produce. Definitely you want to do that. But videos really work great. So I'm going to take this now and I'm going to share it. And I could retweet it or I can retweet it with a comment. You want to do both. You can't do both at the same time. I'm just going to share this just like you would on your Facebook feed. You share something. If you share it with a comment, so if you're leading in with something thoughtful or something funny, to me, it adds a little bit more to the post. It helps to build your credibility online. So I'm going to retweet this with a comment. So I'm now going to share this to my people, and I'm going to add this. This is me every morning. And then I could add hashtag enthusiasm. You can also make up hashtags like I love my job. And there's probably, yeah, there is. See, it comes right up. I happen to capitalize words. Hashtags are not case sensitive. However, because I work for a university, we abide by accessible for people with disabilities. There are people who are on Twitter who don't have very good vision, and so they use text-to-speech technology. When words are capitalized, it reads it better for them. So just a little heads up on that. So I can go here and say, this is me every morning. I love my job. So I'm jumping off the back of the pickup, ready to go to work like these sheepdogs. So I'm going to retweet that. And that's the engagement. That's the engagement you want to have. You want to post content on your feed about your day in your life, what you're growing, what you've produced, the pretty little sheep that just got born. Just explaining that, anytime that you can connect a family with a farm, because we have the stigma of being factory farms down here. Anytime you can connect a value of who you are, how is important to Ray. You can see his ranch or farm here looks like it's well organized and clean. All of that sends subtle messages out. So it adds to the conversation. Wow, I didn't realize that, or this is just cute. It's just these cute puppy dogs. Let me keep going. So I'm actually now just looking at sheep. Let's try cut flowers. And Taylor, if there's any more that you see, I can search for some of them. I'm just trying to show you what, and this will give you your top tweets and then the latest. And believe me, you can go on and watch a television show. Television shows are tweeted. So if you were like Downton Abbey, every Sunday night had Downton Abbey hashtags would trend, or The Walking Dead, or whatever television show you like, Grey's Anatomy. They all have hashtags and people follow them. I just kind of stay away from that, staying away from the pop culture content, but you can certainly do that. So let's just try cut flowers. And now you have people who are talking about their cut flowers. And you can see when people are using, this is something you do not want to do. Don't go on Twitter and send people to Facebook. It's a big no-no. And I see it all the time. There are people, I have colleagues here at Extension who have closed down their Facebook accounts because they don't like it. They don't like what's been happening with the trust and the sharing and personal information getting out there. People are on Twitter because they want to be on Twitter. They don't want to be on Facebook. So don't send content from, don't point people. Like if I wanted to see what she's talking about now, I'd have to go and look at her Facebook page. Well, maybe I'm not on Facebook. Then she's totally lost me. So what you want to do is have photographs like that. And I happen to be a hydrangea nut, so this suits me. But this is her picture. And look at the hydrangeas. Hydrangeas have to be one of my favorite flowers. The color variants are simply scrummy, and then she uses hydrangea, heavenly hydrangeas, hydrangea love, flourish. Look at all the hashtags she's used. And you can click on the whole picture. You know, I would most definitely like that, and I might respond to her and say, gorgeous fall colors. What variety is this? Hydrangea. That is the essence of engagement. So if you were a cut flower supplier, and maybe you grow them in your yard, you have a small farm, and that's your business, and you sell to weddings, you also would want to just look for content that you could share out about the history of the flower. So I don't know if that person could give me, I'm trying to think of what a typical cut flower might be. But you might want to share, like, for instance, if I had a business now, you could just say, you could share this on your feed and say, doesn't this look beautiful with the raindrops on it? And it does. Take a look at that. So so it's not your content, but you're building goodwill by sharing out content from other people. And you begin to become more trusted when you aren't just always trying to sell something and this is on sale, or come here and buy this and buy that. And a lot of people do that online. But anytime you could, if you are an apple, let's say you are an orchard and you raise apple trees. All right, right now, you could talk about the different apples that you grow. So one tweet could just be on a typical variety. But you also might want to share apple recipes. You might want to look for apple art, or you saw a cute T-shirt at Target and it had apples on it, and you share that, so that half of your content is your content, but half of it is, you become like a museum curator. And a museum, they have different artists. And so you're pulling the best from things that you're seeing that you think would be popular and would be liked with your followers. Does that make sense? So it builds that trust in what you're saying if you're not always just tweeting your own horn, pumping your own public up and talking about not always the hard sell is I guess what I'm saying. So I, as a photographer, love to go out into the garden and take pictures of flowers after it rains. So I definitely, as Michelle Walford, would definitely like that. I would definitely retweet that, and I would retweet that with a comment, and I would say one of the best, I would say the best photos of gardens and flowers, in my humble opinion, are right after it rains. The drop, it looks so special. So then I could go hashtag raindrops, hashtag photography, hashtag garden.
Michelle, there was a question about what's the maximum number of hashtags to use. Like, is there a recommended, like, how many you should use?
I would say stick to 3. I've gone as much as 4. You could also, but you don't, like on Instagram, I load them up because there are people who follow things like rain. They look for pictures with rain in them, or they look for pictures that are pink. So I use all kinds of hashtags on Instagram. I would stick to 3, 2 to 4. And if you look at what other people are doing, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 there. Some people work them into their sentence. So you could host your own hashtag flower party with your hashtag garden. So you could do that. She's cut flowers. There you go. So she's putting collages up. But understand that, and the other thing is with Twitter that you want to be, that's very important to understand is, excuse me, a hiccup. It's because it's not filtered, and you're going to be seeing everyone that you follow you're going to get their content. This will, on a phone, goes like this, very, very quickly. So if I post on, say, my fictional Walford Orchards Twitter account, and I say we're having an open house this Saturday, the first 500 people who arrive get a free, get a free apple basket or something like that. And I post that at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, what if my followers don't hop on Twitter until noon? My post is long gone in their feed. It's very, very fast. So you do want to repeat, and you want to stagger your posts for different times. So you may post, you just woke up in the morning, you're looking out your kitchen window, the fog is lifting, you have a bucolic scene right out your living room, or your kitchen window, and you go, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, and you take a picture and you post it up and say, this is my beautiful farm. I'm so fortunate to live in Maryland and with this kind of scene, or something like that. It could be something simple as that. But if you post that at 8 o'clock in the morning, somebody hopping on at Twitter at 9 may never see that unless they intentionally look for what you've posted. So if I've got something really important to say, like that orchard open house, I might post it Monday at 8 o'clock. I might post it Tuesday at 10. I might post it Wednesday at 4 o'clock. In between that, I'll post other content. But you'll see this with Washington Post, New York Times, other accounts like that. If they've got headline news, they don't post it just once. If they've got a big investigative story that they've done, or a big profile, or they've had an interview with Elton John or something like that, and they post a link 8 o'clock in the morning, they will rerun that tweet several times during the week because they want to capture all the different time slots. So it's a little bit hit and miss. So that's why the analytics is nice, because you can find out whether or not someone, if you tweeted and it just sat there and nobody followed it. Of course, you have to have some followers. So that's why if you're brand new, I might come in here and I might look for, let's just see, let me look for UMD extension. So that's UMD extension. So there's their account, and they have 500. So you definitely, everybody, you should be following them, even if you're in Delaware. We follow each other. That's the other really important thing, is we need to support each other. So you could be an organic farmer. I could be a conventional farmer. You might be selling goat's milk. You might be selling goat's meat. We all need to, in this region, have each other's back and share each other's content. Especially someone like me that's got, say, 3,000 followers. If you tagged me or asked or messaged me and said, "Hey, Michelle, I appreciate if you could share this," I'll ask Shannon or whoever's running this account, Paul Geringer, who does your ag law. They work with us. We share his content. He shares our content. It helps getting that word out. So you don't want to be shy about trying to promote yourself by asking an influencer, so somebody who's respected in that field, and say, "Hey, I really appreciate if you could get this out." So in the case here, Maryland, okay, so I'm just looking at here what they're sharing. So talking about resources for farmers, and read the full editorial. That would definitely be something I would share personally, or that UD Extension would share. So UD Extension shares Maryland stuff. DDA is another big one. So your Department of Agriculture in Maryland, DDA here in Delaware, they are constantly pushing out our workshops. Mid-Atlantic Farm Credit does it for us. So you want to follow all the people who are affiliated with you. So that's the main thing, is looking at UME and saying, okay, I want to see who's following them and who they're following, and that would be just as important. So they're going to follow some national news, but here's Go Public Health. They're following some national parks. Here's NBC, RW. So you want to follow your local media. Definitely follow them, because they're going to be following people who are very important. So that gives you a clue. Like, I want to make sure that I'm following the reporters in my neighborhood, or I'm following the reporters who are doing stories about what I do. You want to build a relationship with them. So you would definitely come in here and go, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I definitely want to follow them."
So Michelle, there was another question in reference to Twitter settings. Is there a way for multiple people to administrate an account?
No. It's not like Facebook. It's more like Instagram in that respect. So in the case of, say, Delaware 4-H, I administer it. I created the account. You have to have a unique email, and then you have a sign-in. I shared the sign-in and the password with the 3 4-H extension agents, so they can sign in, but they don't. The only way, if one of them quit and left and did something bad, which wouldn't happen, I'd have to change the password if I didn't want somebody. So that you could create your account. So again, let's go back to using myself and say Walford Orchards. I would only give myself, I'll go back to my profile, I would only give myself, I'm the only holder of my personal under my name. But there are 3 or 4 people who are tweeting for UD Extension.
So an account can be logged in multiple times with the same.
It can be logged in multiple times, but they don't have a separate. You would be giving them the key to the business. It's like being a key holder. So when they come in, so I could give the handle is UD. So all you do once the account's been done, you just go up to. I could unlog it and show you. Let me log out. I'm so used to doing this on the phone, so bear with me a second. How do I log out of here? All right. No? Well, you log out, and what you would do is you would sign in. It'll ask you for the handle or email. In this case, you wouldn't know the email. You would just go UD Extension. Then I would have given you the password. say it's 1234. It's not. But then you would type in 1234 and you could get into it, yes. Meanwhile, I could be signed into it from home. So I've had multiple people signing into the account at the same time, yes. But you are giving them the key to the store when you do that. So be careful. It's not like with Facebook, you have an intern working, like I give my interns editorial when they're working with me, and then when they're done for the summer, I just remove them. That they can't go in and delete the account or change. Once you give somebody the sign in and the password, they can do things to it. So make sure that the person you're giving that access to is, trusted. But it's a good idea to let somebody else have it in case you got sick or you go on vacation. So in my case, UD Extension, there is another digital content person who has access to UD Extension. And then our communications manager, should I get struck by lightning tomorrow or something like that, he would be able to get in there and take over. So you do want, for a business, you want someone else to have access to it. But I could go in as an errant employee and change the email to this, and then and change the password, and nobody would be able else to get into it. I would have full control of it. So you have to be very careful who you're going to give that information to. It definitely would be someone that you trust, a family member.
All right, and there's another question.
And one other thing with that is the only other way around that is to use a tool like Hootsuite, which can load the accounts in, and you can give somebody a Hootsuite password. So I will take that back. You can do it through something like Hootsuite, which is a management tool.
Yep, so there was a question, will Hootsuite drop posts down into Twitter as it does with Instagram and Facebook?
No, Hootsuite, I've used it a lot. I think we're going to actually go back to it. Hootsuite is a problem for Facebook because Facebook doesn't like anybody. They like to be in charge of everything. So, but for Hootsuite, we're going to go back to that. And so it used to be when I would post a picture of, say, a picture and a link on Twitter via Hootsuite, the picture would come through as a link rather than populate like this. It would just be a link to the picture. Well, we didn't like that, so we stopped using it because it was the whole purpose of people are going by this really fast. You want that visual there. And if it's just a link to a picture, it defeats the purpose. They've stopped doing that.
And then what about TweetDeck?
TweetDeck also would be the same thing. I'm pretty sure, I can't see right here looking. I don't use TweetDeck. I have used it in the past. But in most cases, now here's the other thing. If I go into my Instagram, I'm still signed in as me, right? So I just want to show you something. I'm on my phone now, and I'm going to go into Instagram, and I'm just going to take a picture that I've already posted on Instagram. Let me see what I got here. Cancel. All right, go to my pictures. All right, here's the pictures of some birds I took. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to share to my Twitter account. Actually, I'm just going to repost the picture. Should be easier. I want you to see what will happen. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to do this auto posting. It's like bad news. So I'm just going to take a picture. I'm just going to do a picture as a test. Next. All right. I'm not going to add anything to it. I'm just going to say test. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to share it to my Twitter. Share. All right. So let's see what happens. Let me go back to my home. Back to my profile. And I don't even see it yet. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Nope. There. See what happened? If you could see me right now, what I posted was a video of asters and bees flying over asters. It was really pretty. But see what happened when I sent it via Instagram, that if you click on that, now you'll see it. But it's that extra step. So sometimes that's what TweetDeck will do. I don't know if TweetDeck still does that. Hootsuite did, and now it doesn't, because people were dropping them because of that. I mean, you've got to compete for attention, and when you're posting that versus posting something like this, there's just no comparison. So when I have an Instagram account, I will sometimes share my Instagram post on my Facebook page because it will populate, but it won't with Twitter. Everybody wants to, so you got to be really careful about that. You just have to test it and see how it works. Does that make any sense? We're coming up close to the end. I don't know whether there's any specific questions. Lot to cover. I just hope. I just want to show you a couple other hashtags. If I do Ag Twitter, I just want to show you some of the images and some of the kind of content that people are sharing.
Yep, and we'll be wrapping up in the next few minutes, so if anyone has any other questions, just put them in the chat and we'll try and get to them before we end.
There's a great chat if you're into gardening and flowers. There's a great town hall called Garden Chat. It's Monday nights. I think it's at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Your Twitter followers are going to increase when you participate in these organized chats. So it's, and the girl who does it will say something like, share a picture of your something beautiful in your garden in October. And so then everybody will upload a picture and they use the hashtag garden chat. And then the moderator sees that. So everybody else who's following in that garden chat sees it. You like each other's stuff. Hey, what variety is that? And you have these great conversations. There's organized chats like that about, you name it, about all kinds of topics. The other thing to think about, too, is if you talk about GMOs, this is where you possibly could do some help, but beware, this is a hot topic. But you will see people, Mark Linus is somebody that I follow, he gets it. But there are people who will talk about end all wars, end all this, and they'll talk about things that are celebrate non-GMO month. October is non-GMO month. Well, I happen to know that, it's not this terrible demon that everybody thinks it is. I mean, it's fine if you want to have organic, but when you see labels for cranberry juice that have no GMO labels on them, that's a whole other topic that people talk about. So with all the health risks associated with GMOs, what health risks? I mean, I'm not aware of any studies that are peer-reviewed that say anything. And I could be opening up a big bag of beans right now because there might be some of you who believe that there are. But I'm just telling you, I personally. So this is where a farmer might come back in and say, I've been growing this particular. There's only 7 or 8 foods that are genetically modified, and I've been growing this for 25 years, and I don't have an issue with it. It has to be respectful, and sometimes it cannot be. But this is where people are talking about this. Here's somebody that's saying there's scientific evidence that proves GMOs aren't that bad for you. Aren't that bad? Well, what do you mean, or aren't bad for you at all? So it's very interesting to see some of the conversations that are occurring, and most of them that I've seen on Twitter tend to be very anti-ag. So what I'm suggesting and hoping for is that some people, it can be tricky. I wouldn't get into this right away. I would get yourself comfortable with Twitter and build yourself up some followers, but then talk about this. If I see something that's produced, learn the ugly truth of GMOs at our next website, but there might be something that's more positive, and then I might share that and say, here is a really good non-biased fact about this, and share it out. So you can get involved in conversations like that and do so at your own risk, but I think they're interesting to get into. But Twitter is usually where it happens.
So Michelle, it looks like we do have a handful of more questions.
I can stay on. I can stay on longer.
The first one is, do you recommend adding folks in your tweets? If so, only your followers or or others that you hope will follow you as well?
Adding folks. So if you're trying to, you want to follow people that you're interested in, and then I'm not sure. Read the question again.
Do you recommend adding folks in your tweet? If so, should you only do it with your followers or also others that you hope will be following you as
If
well?
you're talking about a specific tweet, every Friday they have a thing called FF, which is Follow Friday. So I might go into, if it were Friday, then I might go hashtag FF. You could definitely mention people, yeah. So, please, so I could say, please welcome, and that's just say, like, Taylor. I don't know, Taylor, if you even have a Twitter account, but I would like, probably not that. Probably somebody's already taken that. But please welcome to Twitter. I could, she joined, and I could just say something like that, and I could mention other people. Definitely, you can do that. And then if that would be something you would do in your tweet, yes. If you wanted my attention for something that you've posted, then you could add me and say at Michelle Wofford somewhere in there. I'll see it and I'll go, oh, okay, and I'll share it out if I think it's relative to do so. So a lot of people will do that. It's definitely smart to do if you are being funded. So like if we did a partnership with some kind of like nutrition workshop and we might say something like, it was great. So I could do this right now. It was great working with at UMD Extension, and I would say Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture on their spell it right, Michelle. There I am. There. Now that's not really a hashtag, but I'm making one up. And if I knew your website right, do you know your website, Taylor, off the top of your head? I would add that in.
Yep, extension.umd.edu.
Hold on. All right. Visit their archive of webinars at HTTP. What's that?
Extension.
All right.
.umd.edu/women-in-ag.
So I would
/webinars will get there too.
Okay. /webinars.
Yep.
And I'll go up there. It was great presenting. So you can see here, I put the hashtags within my sentence, and that's perfectly fine to do. So boom. So now I've plugged the Women in Ag website, and people might click on that and go, what are UMD Women in Ag? And so they click on that, and they get, provided I spelled it right, I guess I did, there they are. So that's how you help each other out and keep conversations going. All right, were there more questions?
Is there a recommended, how many times a day do you recommend tweeting? So is there like a rule of thumb, not to exceed?
As often as you want. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for not just myself, but for all of my job responsibilities. So sometimes I forget, and it'll be several days. But if it's the only platform you're on, once or twice a day, different times, and again, something that you really love, something that you think is important, don't be shy about. You don't want to do it all in a row. You don't want to say open house Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and then the next tweet an hour later, open house Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So when someone looks at your profile, it's all you're doing is saying that. So you want to mix it up with other stuff, but if it's important enough that you want to get the word out. The other thing you can do that you can't do on Facebook is don't be afraid to say, please retweet. If you were to say please share on Facebook, they penalize you. They actually penalize you because their thinking is it should be naturally shareable. It should be so compelling that people just have to share it. So if you're asking for it to be shared, then there's something wrong with the content. They penalize you for it. They don't on Twitter. So there you want to tell, and I might say, hey, I might list a whole bunch of friends. Please retweet this. We did this for the 4-H contest. That was a national contest. I tweeted Senator Coons and Senator Carpenter and Governor Carney and tweeted newspaper people and said, please retweet this. Please get people to vote. And we ended up coming in second place. So you do want to ask for tweets. It's definitely okay to do on Twitter.
How do you recommend handling replies to your tweets that may be dissenting, controversial, or untrue?
Okay, you either ignore them, and this is where, if you've attended any of the Center for Food Integrity value-based, you want to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. If they're really trolly, ignore them. If they say, well, you should go to jail for eating that steak or something like that, or so, I don't know, and you get people like that. You just have to go, I respect your opinion. I respectfully, I think it's great that we do organic. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I personally believe this is fine. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I respect your, something like that. I will tell you too, on Twitter, this true story. I flew out of BWI, stayed at a Hilton. I was docked $75 for stealing 2 pillows. And I went, what? I didn't take 2 pillows. I mean, I'm sorry, I would not bring home used pillows from a hotel. They said, oh, well, the maid came in and said that there were 2 missing. And I said, I'm sorry. And they weren't going to, they were taking the money. They weren't going to refund it to me. I went on Twitter. And I went at Hilton Hotels, and I said, your service people, I was flying out to California. I didn't have room in my suitcase for 2 pillows. I only had 1 suitcase. I said, I didn't take the pillows. And this is ridiculous. What do I do? And they refunded it right away. So it's a fantastic place for customer service. If you've gotten a bum deal or a bad, you have to be respectful. And when they take care of the problem, respond to them and say thank you for responding, and you do that as publicly as the complaint is. But I have over and over again, it's one of the best places to complain about something if something bad has happened to you, like traveling and being accused of being a pillow thief. So that's something else that's really good about Twitter.
So how do Twitter newsletters work, and do you recommend curating one?
Newsletters. I'm not sure, but to be honest with you, I've not used that methodology. For like a newsletter, we would normally use something like Constant Contact, or what's the other one? Monkey.
MailChimp.
MailChimp, yeah. I would use that. And I think probably those platforms also have ways of sharing it out on Twitter feed, but it's up to you. I'm not as familiar with newsletters. You can certainly talk about a newsletter you have, and would you like to be on our mailing list? You could do something like that. But I've not used Twitter in that capacity, so I'm not really feel comfortable commenting on that.
Okay, there was a question that if they have a previous business Twitter account and have followers, that they would love to move over to their new Twitter account. Is that possible?
Yes. This you could message them all if you wanted to, but then I would like keep this account. Like if I were going to change another one and call it like Walford Rocks or something like that, something corny like that, I would say, hey everybody, I'm going to be moving to a new Twitter platform. please. And in fact, I have an old Twitter platform. I have one that I use for silly stuff that my sister and I would get on there. We would do the red carpet critique. We thought we were Joan Rivers, you know. I didn't want to get rid of it because I had like 500 followers, but I didn't. I wanted to create this more professional one, so I locked that down. I really don't use it anymore, but I let everybody there know that I was moving over, and I would say I got about 50% of them. But you could message them individually and say, hey, I'm going to be heading over. But I would give us some lead time, and so post every once in a while. You can also do a post and make it pin it to your profile. That makes it stay right up at the top. So no matter what else comes my way as I go along, this one will always stay at the top. That's really good if you're having a special event. So extension, we do that all the time. So you could have something like that and say, I'm moving to and your new handle and on this date. So please come over. This account's going to go private. And then at a certain time when you think you've got enough, but you're going to lose some if you do that.
I think the last question we have in queue is there a difference if you add a period to your tweet?
Great question. And I've heard mixed things about that. So what she's talking about, or he's talking about, is if I were going to write to, I'll use my senator, and I were to go at Senator, I'm just going to say at Chris Coons. I just happen to know that one because. So, and then I want to say, I think you should vote for this, right? From what I understood, when you do that, only he and only me and any people that we share in common. So like if Taylor followed both of us, she'd see it, but nobody else would. When you put a dot in front of it, it breaks that chain. Now everybody will see that I wrote to Chris Coons, and he will still get it. He'll get a little ding, but it won't be private. And I don't know whether that's still valid. I guess I could find out really quick. But that was the reasoning behind it. If the tweet starts off with an @ signal, it's almost like a private message. But then why wouldn't you just private message? So I'm just going to, now you've got my curiosity up because it's been a while since I've used that. Period. On Twitter, we'll just say period before an @ sign necessary. Mystery dot. All right. So you got, it's the other thing you do. You can't be looking at 2016, 2017 because Twitter changes every 6 months. It does something different. But let's just see what it says here. All right, 140 characters. Okay, it's pretty, but there's one essential is very deep in Twitter. Listen up, it's important. If a tweet starts with a username, Twitter thinks it's a conversation between two people. Yeah. For example. All right, so it's basically saying by putting the dot in, this tweet will get pushed for everybody following me will see it. So I hope that answers your question. So I was right. If the dot is in front, it makes your comment to whomever public. For all your followers will see it. So the better way to do that would be if you were to say you have an event, you would like me to share it. If you went, hey, M. Walford, please share my open house. And then you might have a link. You send that to me, I'll get it, and I could share it. But why not let everybody see that. And then not only that, you're getting all of my people following me are going to see your request. Does that make sense? So I think that's a good practice to use, but it only is applicable if you did it this way. Please share my open house, M. Walfred. Then the dot doesn't matter. So it's only when you begin a sentence directly at somebody. So if I were going to go to the pillow thing with, all right, do I want to embarrass Hilton in front of everybody with their pillow theft docking that they did? So I could be nasty and say dot Hilton Hotels. I don't even know what they're, I'm just making this up. You cheated me. You made me. If I did that, I'm announcing it to everybody. Do I really want to do that? Do I want to be a real PIA, or do I just want to get my $75 back and I'll be happy? So then I might just go to them and say, I got charged for something I didn't do. And that would, to me, would be the better way to do it. But if I really wanted to rip them a new one, I would probably put that dot, particularly if I'm influential. I'm not that influential. I only have 2,900 people, almost 3,000 people follow me. But still, there's 3,000 people who go, oh, wow, Hilton cheated Michelle. Do I really want to do that, or do I just want them to know? So that would be where you would or would not use that dot. Does that make sense? I hope.
That definitely makes sense. That makes sense to me. Yep, I'm following you.
I definitely would err on the side when I'm complaining about something, and I've done it a couple times effectively. I've always been polite about it. I don't sit there and say, you jerks, you robbed, you did. I would never say that. I would say, I have a problem, and I think that's what I did, because I went back and forth with the hotel person. And you know, and it really burned me up is I left her a really nice tip. I always leave a tip in the hotel room, and you know, I was like, geez, are you kidding me? And I didn't want to let it go. I mean, it was expensive pillows. So that was one that was able to be resolved, and I think I probably did it privately. Now you could message them, but you can do a direct message, but you can only do a direct message. I want to make sure I don't send this. You can do a direct message only if you are mutually following each other. So there is a way to DM somebody, and that's messages. So I could go on here, and usually when I follow somebody, I get an automatic, hi, thanks for following us. But I can't message a total stranger. They have to be following me, and I have to be following them. So usually your big companies won't be following you. So you have to do it that way. Okay, anything else?
No more questions on the board.
Well, have fun with it. Explore. It's completely different than Instagram. I mean, to me, I think Instagram is very powerful for advocating for agriculture because it's an artsy platform. It's very visual, but it's not easy to share things on Instagram. And so those would be my two. And definitely anytime you can put in a photograph or a picture, the better.
Yeah, Shannon and I were just talking earlier this week that we're both pretty Twitter shy.
Yeah, and it is time consuming. Yeah. This is not a platform to start if you're also starting Instagram and Facebook. But Facebook is just not. You know, most of us have Facebook accounts for our friends and our family, and then we might have a page. But these pages are not cracked up to what they used to be when they first started. They're not reaching everybody that you think they are. So somebody just said thank you. I don't know who that was, but someone said thank you. But that's why Twitter can be very powerful. It can, just full warning, it can be very nasty. I steer away. If I'm going to steer into topics of politics, I'm going to have a different account with a different name. I'm going to be, Delaware Girl 804 or something like that. They won't know who I am. And then I can shoot my mouth off. But I would never do that under my professional name. And I tell this to young people to be very careful. They've got to treat their name and their face like a logo and a trademark. And if they're going on Twitter or any social media program and they're saying this sucks, or they're using language like that, like, oh, my job, I hate my job, and you'd be surprised how many teenagers are doing stuff like that, and it's ruining their brand. So when your brand, your face, and your name is, you want to treat it like a trademark. You want to treat it like a brand, and you want to stick to that and always keep the right tone. There's so many times I've bitten my tongue about things that I would love to just say back, and I don't, because of, even though my tweets are my own, I still say who I am and where I work. So I'm always mindful, if you're going to represent a Delmarva farmer or someone in the agricultural business, you always want to be respectful. You don't want to give anybody cause, but we do need to see more wholesome pictures, people who do have strong values, that love, most farmers that I've met through WIA and through Extension, they love the land, they take care of their people, they love their families. They don't want to pollute the Chesapeake Bay. They're doing everything they can not to. They're doing so many good things, and they're not shouting it out on social media, and which is what they need to do. So hopefully this will inspire a few people to share their stories and their values, and you can get lost in the mix, but it's a good mix to start. We do need more voices in that conversation.
That was a great webinar, Michelle. We had a lot of people logged on too. I think it was about 20.
Wow, are they still on? Are some people still on, or am I by myself now?
Looks like there's about 11 on.
Okay, oh, good.
I think there was over 200 registered, so they'll all get the recording in the slides. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.